Start.
Alright, so today we're going to be going over the S8 flip blade creation jaw. We're going to go ahead and calibrate the jaw, cut a key, and then also punch a hole in the key for Autel remotes. So first we have to calibrate it. If you're looking at the jaw, I have it in the carriage here with 2 decoders installed for calibration. And we're going to go ahead and take our calibration block and we're going to insert it into the jaw. And tighten the knob like so, and you'll see this is how you want it clamped for calibrating. We look at the screen here. We're at the main home page. We're going to go to Jaw Calibration, and we're going to go to Blade Creating Jaw. And if you reference this picture here, it's going to look exactly like what we have in the jaw below. So we're just going to go ahead and start the calibration. Let's go through its steps. Alright, so calibration was successful, so we're going to go ahead and swap out our decoder for a cutter and remove the calibration block. We no longer need this piece. We get our 2.5 Allen wrench here. And this is going to be our 2.0 standard millimeter cutter. And tighten the set screw back into place. And we're good to continue. So on the screen, we're going to go back to the home screen. And we're going to go to the bottom left to create blade. We'll open up the menu here. So one we're looking for right now is going to be the create key head. It is the first one. We hit the next button. And it already has some values filled in on the screen. For this scenario, we are going to erase the groove values. We're going to set them to 0. We just tap on it here and set it to 0. So these would be for if your key has a roll pin that you need to put in, but for this case, we are not going to do that and just set it to 0 for now. Now we're going to go ahead and look at our key examples here. I got a few key blanks listed. So the first one up here, we have B106, TR47, and Y159. So these are some keys I've done some testing on, some examples of how you can measure these keys to line them up on the jaw. So I have some listings here on my little sticky note for measurements. And these measurements are going to be from tip to line. So if you look at the keys, you'll notice there's a line near the start of the milling, and these lines which have been drawn on are going to be for where the length ends. So to measure this out, we're going to use a caliper. This is the caliper that I'm using here, and we're just going to turn it on. So right now, as you can see, I already have it set to 40.02 millimeters. For my measurements, I have most of them done in millimeters, but you can do it in inches, although the machine is default set to millimeters and does conversions based on millimeters. So we're going to be doing a B106 key today. We're looking at the key, and based on the measurements from earlier, we need to do 40.02 millimeters from the tip. So it's going to be a measurement, have the tip butting into it there, and then you can see the other end of the calipers is hitting where that Sharpie line is that I drew on the key. Now, you most likely won't be drawing on a Sharpie line, but this is just for demonstrations. For most of the keys, you're going to probably have to eyeball it of where you want the actual line to be. But these are just some examples so we can kind of get an idea going here. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the key. You want the head on this side, not over here. And we're going to clamp it into the jaw. You want the edge of the Sharpie line to line up with the edge of the jaw here. So you can see it is almost lined up perfectly. There could be a little bit of variation in the line, but you want it as close as possible. So you want to make sure it's secure in the jaw because you don't want anything coming out while it's cutting the head off. Everything's being tight and secure. We have our cutter in. We're going to lower the shield here, the shavings. It's going to cut a lot of material off. And for this case, we're going to leave these top 3 values the same. We're not going to adjust them or anything. And let's make sure. So the first value is going to be 590, and the second one is 680, and the third one is 190. And these are the default settings. And the bottom 2 for groove position and groove thickness are set to 0. And we're going to go ahead and hit the cut button, and we're going to start the cut process. And just for reference again, we have the 2.0 millimeter cutter in here, which is the default that it's set to. I would not recommend adjusting any of this. That's up to your personal experimentation. Just be careful and be ready to stop the machine if anything happens. I'll go ahead and start the cut process now. So here I canceled the cutting process early. The reason why I did this is because of the way that the machine will cut the key head. For comparison, we look at this key here compared to this key. If you don't stop the cut process early when you have zeros, it'll cut this notch into the key. Or you can kind of see it here and go on the side. It really cuts it in quite deep here. But we want it to be just like a flat edge like this. So with the process that we just did, it's enough and we can stop it early. All you have to do is hit the stop button on the top of the screen, which is, you know, for emergencies typically, but you can just cancel the process. And you can see here it cut off a nice clean edge and there's no remnants or anything there. Now if your key's a thicker material, you know, it might have to do more passes than others. But with using the line, it cut off perfectly. And over here actually, we have our little key head that was cut off. A perfect kind of squarish shape here. But we don't need to keep that. So looking at the key here, we actually don't have to remove it at all from where it's laying. And we're going to get ready and punch a hole into the key. We're going to go back to the screen here. We're going to hit the back button. And we're going to go to create circle on key head. And we're going to hit next. And you can look, and it already has a default setting. Default setting is set to 400, and that is the distance from the base to the center of the circle, to the radius of the circle. So we're going to press the cut button here, and you'll notice that it shows a 2.5 millimeter cutter. When you try to change the size, it'll give an error message saying to use it with 2.5. But it's okay if you use a different size. We are working on getting this fixed in the next update, hopefully for version number 68. Right now we're going to go ahead and cut this with the 2.0 cutter installed. So I haven't changed anything on the jaw or anything. I'm just going to go ahead and hit cut. We're going to lower the shield and start the process. So now we'll go ahead and lift the shield, take a look, push off our shavings, And if you look closely, you can see there is a hole there in the key. And this size with the 2.0 millimeter is perfect for those Autel remotes. You would need your little pins there and your remote head and all that. And you can go ahead and assemble it just like this. Now, when you remove it, you even look on the back side. Now, the back looks a little bit different. It has this little groove here. That's because of the way that the key head was made. But other than that, it should work perfectly fine. There shouldn't be any problems. Of course, this will vary by key, but that's a basic way of how to do these switch blade keys and make the circle punches.